be available via trade for those interested. A few weeks after that, you know that Trouba was dealt to Anaheim, and then on Thursday, it became official. The rumblings were going on for days leading up to it, that Chris Krider is also a member of the Ducks now as well. Krider and a fourth to Anaheim. Carey Terrence, a prospect and 2025 third-round pick, go the other way to the Rangers. Is it a coincidence, Elliotte, that Krider, like Trouba before him, both are now members of the Ducks organization?
I don't think it's a coincidence at all, and you should add in Ryan Strome there, someone who Krider knows from his days with the Rangers. And yes, I'd forgotten he's tight with Trevor Zegras too, right? So all of those players obviously would have lobbied Krider and played a role. But I think the key thing here is Joel Quenneville. I think he played a huge role in convincing Krider to go. Number one, if you're going to be traded and leave a place, especially a place across the country, from where you're comfortable, from where you know and where you have protection, you have to believe it is set up for you to succeed, right? And no doubt, and I believe this 1,000%, Joel Quenneville talked to Chris Krider and said to him, this is why you're going to be successful here. This is what you're going to be able to do. This is what we need you for. This is how you can still be a very effective player in the NHL. And this is how we are going to set you up to succeed. And that, as much as anything else, like obviously we tie in all the players he knows, all of the guys he's friends with who are going to try to sell it to him. But the person who probably has to convince him the most is that person who's going to be giving him ice time. And I think Quenneville did that. If you take a look at Krider, he got shorthanded time. He got power play time. Like, he played 17 minutes a game last year in New York, but a chunk of that, about 4 minutes, was on the power play and the penalty kill, almost 5 minutes actually. So that's a guy who's used to playing special teams, and a key part of his success, Kyle, is special teams. I have no doubt he got told, you know what, you're going to get a chance to play those minutes for us. And I think at the end of the day, that was just really important, that he knew that he was going to be placed in a position where he could show that he still had, like, he wants to show he's still got a lot to give, and that is the way he's going to have a lot to give. It says to me also about Anaheim, and they've talked about it, so it's not a big surprise. You know, Pat Verbeek, he wants to make the playoffs next year. He is running a team like a guy who needs to make the playoffs next year. And, you know, he's adding veterans. He's adding Krider. I think he's going to add more. And so, to me, this is an example of a player. Like, Pat Verbeek is not going to add Chris Krider if he doesn't think the guy can help him. And Chris Krider is going to be given every chance with the Ducks to show that and prove that he is can still be the player that he believes he is.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, they made a jump last season for sure, finishing with 80 points. Haven't made the playoffs since 2018. So they get Krider in there. I mean, you mentioned that you don't expect them to stand pat now that they have Krider. They're a team that still has a lot of cap space. So what else do you think Pat Verbeek is looking at here?
So as we said, he wants to make the playoffs, and look what they've got around him. They've got, in his division, he's got the Oilers, he's got the Golden Knights, he's got the Kings, who made the playoffs last year, and he's got other teams there. He's got the Flames, who just missed. He's got the Canucks, who want to be better. He's got, you know, there's a lot of competition in that division. And then when you got the crossover, President's Trophy champions in Winnipeg, and you've got Colorado, Dallas, St. Louis, which was one of the hottest teams in the league in the back end of the season. They're not going to look at this and say, okay, that's enough for now. I think we're still expecting them to take a run at Marner. I've actually wondered if Toronto and Tavares don't work this out, and there's still time here, if Anaheim would be a team that would take a shot at Tavares too. So I don't think that Anaheim's done here by any stretch of the imagination. I think it'll be interesting to see with Verbeek what he does with some of his RFAs, the likes of McTavish and Dostal, for example. He's a bit old school, and I don't mean it as a knock, just old school as a philosophy, in that he really likes to make sure that players are ready to earn the big money. He's not scared of bridge deals. If you're not ready to earn it right away, I'll wait. We'll see what he does with those players. Like Dostal, I think, is an absolute stud. And McTavish is a hell of a player too. But, I think it's very obvious that he isn't done yet.
And it's interesting, are you starting to see that maybe a little more across the league to some degree in terms of handling that tier of young players coming out of their entry level or still as restricted free agents, where for a while there, of course the top guys are, they're going to get term right out of the gate because, as you say, the price never goes down. But that next wave where you're going, very good player, a lot of potential there. In the past, there was a 6-year deal there, a 7-year deal there, maybe even an 8-year deal there in betting on the potential. But now, I don't know, is there maybe more of a shift? I don't know if you want to call it a course correction, but more teams looking at that level of young player and say, we think he could be very good for us for a long time here, but we're okay going bridge in the short term.
Well, we're getting close to labor peace here. I think it's going to be done in the next couple of weeks. And I think there were a bunch of calls just to start, talking about where we are and what we're getting close to. But one of the things everybody is still figuring out is what these increased cap numbers mean for contracts. Like 5 now is going to be 7. 7 is going to be 9. 9 is going to be what? I do think one of the challenges here is that one of the things teams are saying, there was a manager who told me this week he's got a depth defenseman, he says he's like a 4-5 on our team, and he says he's a really good player and he's a really good teammate and we really like this player, but the agent is going percentage of the cap, and we're not doing that because this player, as much as we like him, we just don't think he's worth that much percentage of the cap. And a good example was Tyson Forster, who scored 25 goals. He couldn't come to a long-term agreement. They couldn't work it out, the Flyers and his representatives. And a bunch of teams were saying that contract, says that's a good, the people are like, that's a good player. And we can't figure out what his long-term value is. And it wouldn't only be Philly in that situation. It would be a whole bunch of other teams in that situation. So like Lafreniere, we're going to talk about the Rangers, right? Mm-hmm. The thing about Lafreniere is he's signed at 7 times 7.45. If he does what he can do, that contract is going to be perfect for a team in this new cap era. And so I think a lot of young players are like, let's wait to see where this goes. And I think we're having trouble finding the sweet spot. I don't think it's